Hello, we're live. Apologies for the delay. Welcome to Whetstone Wednesday. Probably the only show on YouTube that actively and lively critiques copywriting pieces from subscribers of the Copy That channel. That is what we're doing today. We are going to crack into, I believe, 12 pieces of copy and tell you why they're either good or bad or somewhere in the middle and where they can improve, because almost everything needs improvement. So let us crack in. I'm going to share my screen and start. But first of all, how are you guys? Everyone doing well? I hope you are. Just a quick note. If you would like your copy reviewed by myself, by Rod, by Sean, by Lindsey in the future, then the best thing to do is to subscribe to our Patreon, which the link should be in the description somewhere. Or maybe not the Patreon, because I believe we might be changing it very soon. So I can't even remember what we're doing with our channel. That's not very good. But regardless, I think you have like maybe one more month of us doing these kind of streams. And then things might be changing. So, look out for the news on that. Anyway, hello, everyone. Who have we got in here? We've got Sky, Leah, Janjay, Adam, Akash. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to remember to zoom in before I critique each piece of copy. But first of all, how's everyone doing? Everyone doing good? Morning, Jessica. Morning, Moise, or wherever you are, Moise. Morning, evening, afternoon, night. And I think in a moment, everyone should be able to see my screen. All right, there we go. You're going to have to forgive me. I was at a client lunch, which went on much longer than it should have. And it was only when we were partway through one of the last conversations, I was like, oh shit, I have a stream, I need to go. So I had to rush back here. Can't complain. Hello everybody. Lorenz, Janjay, Irev. I'm good. Well, things are extremely, I'll give like 1 or 2 minutes people to get in and then we'll crack on. But everyone knows now what we're doing, what we're here for. I'm very busy. I am a little bit stressed. Takes a lot to get me stressed, but I'm a little bit stressed. We are running a new agency. We're running our own brands. I'm still doing consulting. And I'm also dealing with the admin of building businesses. So hiring people and sorting out contracts and all those kind of things. So it's all fun. I'm actually off to Comic-Con this weekend. So I'm going to try and switch off as much as I can and have a good time. Mariam, I think, or I might have butchered that pronunciation. Afternoon, nice. I'm also from England. Well, that's nice to know. Hannah Mel's in Douala. Rev, we got amazing things. What did I have for lunch? I had what did I have? I had a honey soy chicken sandwich with a side of Philly cheesesteak meat. If anyone's ever in Cambridge, go to Bread and Meat because it's really, really nice. All right, I think that's enough time. Let's crack into this. So, if this is your first Whetstone Wednesday, hello, welcome. This is where we review copy and we say whether it's good or bad and how to improve it. We have, I think like 10 or 11 pieces to review today. Now, despite Sean's attempts to get everyone to prank me, to make me stay on for like 8 hours, I can only stay on for 2 hours because I have other work I need to do. I know Sean does like no work in his life, so that's why he can afford to stay on stream for 8 hours. But for those of us who, actually make money, we can't hang around. I'm of course joking. Sean does make a little bit of money. All right. Facebook ad for a fitness app. That's the first piece of copy we're going to be reviewing. I'm going to assume this is, a script. Okay, cool. Practicing a fake product launching a brand new app. So no testimonies or reviews. Okay. I have 2 video ads with different styles. The second one is super short. Okay, fine. So I'm guessing this is a Facebook ad to cold traffic. And we will carry on. I will be trying to answer questions as we go, but I'm going to prioritize the copy as much as I can. What? Only 2 hours? Only 2 hours. I actually, this is not even close to my full-time job. So I cannot give much time. I need to run an agency. Okay, I will try and answer questions as we go, as they are relevant to the copy. So let's start with this. Video ad 1. Hook. I work at the office 60 hours a week and still have this body. Guy showing his abs. Okay. Just by staying at home and working out only 30 minutes a day. Here's how. Okay, so I would say that one of the most important things about a Facebook ad is the hook. Okay. The hook is the first 1 to 3 seconds. So usually it's like the first line or two. And the hook needs to be one of a few things, but crucially, it needs to be either extremely relevant or it needs to be extremely bizarre and engaging. It needs to grab attention in some way. And as we know, you do that by being relevant or you do that by being different. This one is trying to be very relevant because it's showing something that somebody wants, which is, a shredded stomach. And it's also starting with, I work at the office 60 hours a week, thereby implying that, I barely have any time to work out, but, I still manage to get this. So I think this is fine as a hook. I think that I would test this with a bunch of different, hooks. So like and I still have this body, I think is a good payoff for the hook to have. For example, I hardly ever go to the gym, or like I never go to the gym and I still have this body, or I don't have a gym membership and I still have this body, or I have to juggle kids, a career, and like a social life, and I still have this body, or I eat like all of this each week, but I still have this body. I think there's loads of things that you could start that with, and each one is effectively positioning a reason, an obstacle that people have to gaining weight. So it's a notion people have is a shakeable notion people have is, I can't get ripped because I don't have any time, or I can't get ripped because I like eating food too much, or whatever. So you're just anchoring whatever that is here, and then you're saying, but I still have this. So I think it's a pretty good hook formula. And of course, showing someone who has abs, nice, but that's not interesting enough for a visual. You need to do something a bit more than that. And I would say related to this, because something that would be a bit bizarre is, imagine like a guy standing in an office full of people, like with like a suit on, and kind of ripping the suit up and go like, like I work 60 hours a week at the office and I still have this body. Or just a dude in his underwear surrounded by office workers, like immediately with a great body. Because that's a bit more attention grabbing. If it's just a guy with abs, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. But if you visualize this first bit as well, I think it's a bit more interesting. Just by staying at home and working out only 30 minutes a day, here's how. Yep, I think that's fine. This is a pretty typical like ad structure. I don't think there's anything like bad or particularly to fix. This is certainly something I would run. Alex, update my Discord comment with the Google Doc link if you can get it plays up. I will, because I know you, but usually I do not do that for people because I expect the things to be up already, because it means I have to go back in. Where is it? That one. Okay. Anyway, see, I used to tell myself I didn't have time for the gym. I didn't have enough space to make. I'm going to ignore these for the second and for a minute and just read the script. So I used to tell myself I didn't have time for the gym. I didn't have enough space to make a home gym. And I made excuses saying I just didn't have enough energy to exercise. Like dealing with stressful meetings, listening out. Okay, I can tell you something that already this is doing. This bit is fine. You're being sympathetic. You're being empathetic to what someone's going through. This is also fine, saying I used to tell myself this and this. This is getting too much. Okay, like you're now saying like, oh, I didn't have energy, stressful meetings, out-touch bosses, social obligations, still want to feel healthy. Like, and then it's like, I would cut 3 or 4 of these lines before here, because we get the idea. We get it. And it's something, I'm copy chiefing a lot of ads at the moment, a lot of scripting, and then testing those. And one of the most frequent comments I have to give to copywriters is like, just cut your copy down. Take out like lines that are redundant. Don't feel you need long copy just for the sake of long copy. Don't feel you need to overemphasize the point. If you've got it across once, you might want to refer back to it later on in the ad, of course, but you don't need to keep emphasizing it there. So often people just, they know they want to hear, people's patience for listening to someone in a video, as always, they need to be kept abreast of new things, not just the same thing. It all changed when one of my friends recommended me to use this. Person using a phone. I think like, here's how now I know you've got a different style of ad, right? Which I assume is video ad 2. What's your secret? Okay, so it's like a street interview ad. Okay, I think like how I would do this is I would front load the app way sooner. If I had to make one ad for this, I would bring the app up like fucking immediately, basically. We'd still have that hook, and I would just say, and I would almost make people feel like not guilty, but I would make people feel like they're out of touch if they don't use an app at the moment for it. Like, I would say like the age of personal trainers is over. And if you want to say AI, like this AI tailors this to your specific body type, so you will get the best results you possibly can, and then give some reasoning for why it does that. It's like, it's because it uses this like powerful algorithm or whatever. That I think is more unique and more specific to an ad for someone, like that you can put in an ad that would be more interesting than just having this kind of traditional structure of all of this. So this is fine. Like I could run this as an ad. It's just I would want to cut it down. I would front load the actual solution, because everyone knows that it's gonna, most fucking fitness solutions are a course or a personal trainer online or whatever. And I think this is kind of a unique take on it. So I would just front load that, be specific about why it works and why it's better, and then spend the ad talking about like why it's so fantastic, right? So that's how I would change this. I'm not going to spend too long reviewing each piece of copy as well. Like I'm going to give you my gut feel, talk about specific points, and then move on, because I know we have a tendency to just keep talking about the same thing for like half an hour. Okay. So there we go. I think this is Alex, as in ALECs. I think this is yours, Alec. I don't know if you're on, but hopefully that will make sense. But again, you've improved, because like this is, you're not, there's not, I know there's a little bit of fluff, but there's not really much fluff, and you're being very kind of deliberate with what you're saying and when you're saying it. I would run this as an ad. I think your visuals need more detail about exactly what you want, and you need to think more about how you fold visuals into the whole narrative experience. So not just guy showing his abs. Where is he doing it? How can that be made to be more interesting? How can you make this more like relatable to someone, or make them keep watching? Is it just a guy sitting home relaxing, or is it a guy like playing video games, or is it something that's a little bit entertaining to make people keep watching, right? You might want to have a think about those kind of things. Okay, cool. Facebook like. Is it being streamed on Facebook as well? I didn't even know that. Anyway, Dushan says, can I rate these books? No, probably not, because I haven't read like 2 of them, I don't think. And also it's all subjective. Okay, cool. Next. Outreach. This is a SaaS business, which is a hot inbound lead for me. Their founder just followed me. Okay. I looked at their website and saw I could make some improvements to it. Let's have a look. Being a student is hard, so you have to be. I fucking hate that headline. Right. Here's a PSA for all SaaS founders. You could make your websites so much better if you just told people what you did in specific terms and what the outcome was. Please just fucking do that. Stop trying to say things like, oh, this thing is hard, but it doesn't have to be, or, oh, this thing made easy, or like a new wave of innovation in this area. It's like, just tell me what you do. Tell me why you're going to make my life easier. Because like, I don't get your nights and weekends back without risking grades. Finish revision 30% faster. I don't know. Like that just about mentions a specific benefit, which is finishing revision faster. That's like the only thing that there. All of this other stuff, being a student is hard, so it doesn't have to be. Get your nights and weekends back and get, like none of that. That could be about anything. That could be about a binder. That could be about a program, a course of videos, a paid course, it could be about like a new textbook. That could be about a personal tutor. It could be about anything, right? So like one way to improve, and I'll see whomever submitted this piece of copy. I'll have a look if you did this. Just be more specific about what you're doing and why it's better for people. Anyway. It's Twitter outreach DM copy. Okay. My fear is that this copy might be too long for a DM and might get ignored because of it. Okay, that's that. If you've watched my outreach section of the 22-hour course, you will know why that is unfounded. It doesn't matter how long your outreach copy is. All that matters is how relevant it is. Okay. I famously, not famously, but like I spoke about in the video, I spoke about how my CV was 12 pages long. I mean, I haven't updated in like fucking years now, but it was 12 pages long. And I used to send outreach. It was like 2 pages long. And I used to do like workbooks for people and stuff like that. As long as you're starting with a hook that's interesting and relevant. And if you know, for example, either the first thing they're going to see is going to be like the preview of your message or a subject line, or it's going to be the bottom of the message. Just make sure you tailor those bits to be nice and easy to read and to encourage them to start from the top. And I'm going to be crushed without the amount of critiques I can give, but here we go. Hey, Alex, love what you're building with Uni Easy. I think you are building something that has potential to help a lot of people and solve their problem for uni students. So my first thing is going to be, why not make this a video is going to be my first thing, because video is far more engaging. You don't have to do this, but it's just, I always used to like sending videos like Looms. I would also reference the fact that he followed you, because like that is something that's, if it's a hot lead and he followed you, I would almost be a bit meta about that and just say something like, hey, like, I hope I don't sound weird, but I saw you followed me the other day, so I got curious about who you were, looked at, the business you're on, and I loved it. So you're immediately starting with something, because everyone could say this, and I always talk about this in outreach. What can you say that no one else can say? Everyone can say this. Not everyone can say, hey, you followed me, and I got a bit curious. And so that's something that immediately sets you apart, and you're reminding him, oh yeah, I did follow this person. There's probably a reason for that. So I would start with that. On that note, I checked out your website and saw a few small improvements can help boost your conversion rates by a few percentages. Okay, right. This English is not fantastic, because again, like, if this is your first outreach to someone and you are wanting to be a copywriter or a marketer, you don't want to say conversion rates by a few percentages, things like, because that doesn't make sense grammatically. Text in the orange box can be much simpler. The VSL can be made more audience focused. The text in boxes can be cut down to only bullets and benefits. This is why I think a video is good, because you can talk them through what this means. I don't think this is bad necessarily. I think it's better than just saying, oh, like, let's have a call. But I would at least say to him, if you don't want to do it in a video and explain more, I would at least say something like, I would love to explain exactly what I mean by this, or something like that, like on a call. The biggest one is adding a newsletter sign up, which can help you decrease churn rate and increase the signups you get if you give a discount on the welcome sequences. I don't know what the fuck that means. That's way too long a sentence. The biggest one is adding a newsletter sign up, right? Which can help you decrease churn rate. Okay. I don't really know why that decreases churn rate, and increase the signups you get if you give a discount on the welcome sequences. You are assuming a massive amount of knowledge there, that they know what welcome sequences mean. I mean, they don't know what churn rate is, I imagine, but like what a welcome sequence is, where a discount would go in a welcome sequence, what like a newsletter sign up exactly means to their business. This is just getting a bit confusing. And it's like, I don't really know what that means. Are you suggesting that, do they have a newsletter and you're suggesting they improve it? Do they not have one and you're suggesting that they introduce one? To prove to you, again, just grammar, I know what I'm talking about. I wrote a welcome email link. Okay. Overall, I think you did a great job with the website, and with a few small tweaks, it can help you increase conversions by a few percent at least. I can write a welcome sequence for free in exchange for a testimonial over the course of a week. Let me know when you're available to chat. We can chat on Discord, cool about it as well. Are they on Discord? You have to know that before you say that. Look, I'm not crazy about this, well, for the reasons I've been saying, but also because this is your chance to show that you can be specific to what is going to improve things for them. The best way to do that is just by showing them. And one of the best ways to do that is by jumping on a Loom video and taking them through it and saying, oh, here's what I think about this. Or actually breaking it down in a way that makes more sense. I like that you've said, oh, here's a welcome email and I've got a link for it. But if you've done that, make this the point of your outreach. Okay. Don't make all this the point. Remember, piece of copy, like one action. There's one idea. What is the idea? Is the idea, I really loved what you were doing. I think there's some improvements we can make. I actually wrote a welcome email to show you the kind of thing I'd love to implement post, after someone signs up. I think this could help. Do whatever. Please have a look at it. If you like it and you want to talk more, I have a few other pointers that I'd love to talk to you about. Let me know. Bang. There you go. That's it. That's I've just written you a cold, well, not cold, but I've just written you a DM, an outreach DM. You're doing too much at the moment that is not drawn out enough or not explained enough to be really amazing, as it could be if it was in a loom, and you can set an agenda and you can actually go through different points. And of course, there are just some grammatical issues here that I think makes it hard to read and makes you less serious. Okay, just things like there's no full stops at the end of sentences. The words don't always make sense. That comma doesn't make sense there. These are things that you have to be super aware of when you're out reaching out, because among other copywriters, they might go, oh, it doesn't matter. Copy's the only thing that matters, and it's the message. Which is true to an extent, to certain markets. To business owners who want to, have their brand be really cool and make sure it's all above board and stuff, you can't risk that. Okay. So, you need to decide what it is you're actually talking to them about. Is it the homepage? Is it the website? Or is it the, or is it the welcome sequence or what? Go in with that big thing and then invite to a wider call. Okay. Okay. I haven't actually looked at this thing. Who was this? Are they in the chat? You could even say something like, I wrote a welcome email for you. I'd love to show it to you on a call. Potentially, I think I'm more a fan of showing something up front, especially if you've done it, just doing it up, showing it up front. Cause I think it goes quite a long way to show how serious you are about something, but I think either is fine. I don't know if the person who wrote this is on I'm going to move on now, because hopefully I've given enough there, but if you rewind, I've just given you a thing that you can write to them. But no, this is not too long, but if they followed you, that's your unique entryway into it. Right. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on because I can't see anyone saying that, this is theirs. Ad scripts. There's a lot of ad scripts. Context. Facebook ad script targeting menopausal women, introducing them to Pilates, a Pilates workout bar they can train at home with. Also instructional videos that will go to the product page. I was thinking about advertorial, but I don't know if I should do it as a newbie. There's translate copy with Claude because I write in Hebrew. Okay, I will try not to say anything about grammar and stuff. All right. When I experienced the depression of the menopausal crisis, I was stuck in bed, took days off from work, and couldn't even get up to cook. Menopause almost made me lose myself. The menopause crisis brings so many difficulties, and it simply crushed my daily mood. So, this is for a Pilates bar, but this is not necessarily for people who say they want to do Pilates already, if I understand correctly. So you're going the route of talking about menopause first and then introducing Pilates as a reason to, as a way to help mood and stuff like that. In which case I would probably shift these hooks to thinking more about an immediate solution. I don't think these aren't bad. They are doing the first rule of being relevant if someone's going through, menopausal difficulties. But I would potentially create these hooks as to more of a 1-2, kind of like the first ad I was talking about, where you've got a setup and a payoff within the hook itself. So, for example, what do I mean by that? I mean something like saying, after I went through menopause, there was only one thing that truly helped me recover. Okay, because you're immediately opening a loop into what the rest of the ad is going to be about. You're being relevant by mentioning menopause straight away. You're implying a benefit by talking about how there's something to help them recover, which is one of the things they want. And you're opening a loop in that same vein through saying, hinting at that you're going to reveal it in the video. So that takes what you've done here, which is purely relevant, and it has turned it into an immediate hook, right? That actually hooks and gets people to keep going. So hopefully that makes sense. I would actually rewrite these with that in mind. Because I think at the moment these are purely like just trying to be sympathetic rather than trying to build into the rest of the ad. And I think it would be more interesting to see it in that way, in that kind of like 1-2. And you can do different variants of that. So obviously the one I just mentioned, but you could also say something like menopause sucks. Recovering from it is difficult. Let's talk about it. Something like that, where it's a bit more bombastic and it's a bit more like, oh wow, this is actually someone who's talking about a controversial subject, or is cutting through the crap and being very direct with me. I need to watch what they say, and then you can go into talking about why it's so great. Oh, thanks, Paula. Appreciate it. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to finish this and I'm going to come back and answer some questions. The feeling that I'd aged hit me deeply. Every day felt harder than the one before. I couldn't stand it anymore. My mother saw me suffering, and without a good mood, she understood very quickly that it was a menopause crisis. She told me, start doing Pilates. That's what I did at your age. I thought about it for days. How will I start? My mood's on the floor. I don't feel like doing anything. And honestly, I couldn't stand Pilates classes. They're not at times convenient for me, and they're also expensive. Okay. I think you're trying to do too much in like this section. You're kind of like, you're assuming too much. Like you're kind of just bringing like, oh, I felt really bad. My mom said start doing Pilates, but I don't like Pilates until I saw this thing. That's quite a lot happening within like 2 or 3 sentences. And it's quite big jumps. You need to decide like what steps you want to take throughout this ad, because if you've already decided that you're not targeting people who want to do Pilates, because you're not, these people don't want to do Pilates, that you've said that they don't want to go to Pilates classes. I would test running some ads that talk just about Pilates as well, and literally start with saying like this. Like literally start an ad just by saying this. Don't even mention, like, you don't have to mention menopause immediately or at all. Just test if there's a market for people who are kind of interested in Pilates but don't like the idea of going to classes. Run that as an ad. But right now, you're talking about menopause, then how my mom helped me by suggesting Pilates, but I didn't like Pilates. But then I found this Pilates. It's like that's like 4 steps in 3 sentences that I have to try and go through. So I would just kind of jump straight into saying like, there was one thing that fixed it for me. Okay. Then I would introduce Pilates as the solution, like immediately, and just say something like, give reason for that. The mother angle, I think, is okay. Like, I don't hate that. And I know that does work, like a kind of a third party recommendation, especially someone people trust, like a mother or a doctor or something, or a daughter, something like that. But, I would want to see it be a bit more immediately talking about why Pilates is like the solution for people who've gone through menopause or something. And potentially like you could position that against other things people might consider, like drugs, like, or antidepressants, or, like, I haven't written for many menopause brands. So like, I'm sure there'll be other things that I'm not thinking of at the moment, but positioning it against those things and saying, like recovering, the hook I said earlier, and then saying recovering from menopause, like didn't take drugs, it didn't take X, it didn't take Y, whatever those things are. Instead, it took something really simple that women have been doing for hundreds of years or thousands of years. It's simply readjust, and then just kind of don't just say Pilates outright. Give some reasoning for why it's Pilates. Like, is it restructuring? Is it repositioning? Is it getting back to, I don't know how much spirituality you want to put into this, but is it like getting back in touch with yourself through movement or whatever? And then mentioning how Pilates is the key, to that. It's simple. It's like, but, I didn't have time for X, Y, Z. I didn't have time for Pilates, or I didn't like it, or I was embarrassed, or whatever. Then I found the solution. Okay. That would be one video for me, that structure, because you're stringing out a little bit more and you're allowing it to naturally kind of build up from where you're starting to where you're going. I would also run another, I know you've got other scripts. I would also run another script where you were like immediately direct with the products and talk about it immediately, Okay. So let's try. Once I start doing the best thing I know myself. So yeah, that's the first thing I would go. I would go and change the structure. Like that is the first thing I would say. I know you've got a couple of other scripts. So I think all of this is like, so you're very much starting with menopause and then going into Pilates. I would ask, like, what's your reasoning for that? You know, is that something you have genuinely seen, like people going through menopause gravitate towards Pilates and it's a great connection, or are you just assuming that? Because I would argue, like, it might be worth talking to people who already like know about Pilates, even in relation to menopause, but like saying, you know, even just starting with a hook saying, like, we all know, so assuming knowledge, but in a good way. So not assuming knowledge like we were doing, which is like, you know, assuming what people will be interested in and, you know, having these jumps which they need to make themselves. But I mean, starting with assumed knowledge that makes them feel like they should know it already. So a hook that starts with, we all know that Pilates is a fantastic way to get over menopause. Okay, like starting with that being the hook, because then you're doing two things. You're still being relevant, but also you're introducing this idea of, oh, is it? Oh, Pilates is good. Oh, I never thought about that, or I never considered that. Let me watch this video. So that's what I would do there, because I think at the moment, if you're over 50, the risk of heart disease is especially high, which is heart attacks and strokes. Estrogen is a group of hormones produced in the body. Right. Okay. These hooks do not line up with this body, first of all. These are two different from each. I mean, hooks should be different from each other, but they still need to make sense for the body of the copy. You're very all over the place with this, you know. You need to make sure your ads are a bit more focused around one idea, like we've been saying, one idea, and then your hook should be framing that idea in different ways or doing different things to grab attention, which then lead into the same message. So there's a few things here. I'm going to move on in a second because I know we've got more to get through, but there's a few things here that I've kind of taken you through. Hook to body relationship needs to be far stronger and more coherent. Don't just assume what your audience will like, and don't make them do these big leaps of knowledge, like of logic, I should say, to get there, because you need to be a bit more guide them through about why this is connected, and also try aiming for different audiences, people who will already be interested in Pilates. I think that's going to be the easiest thing for you to do here. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's have a quick look at questions. Oh God, there's a lot of questions. I think we've gone back far enough. For the intermittent niche method, when you switch to a new niche, how much research should I do before starting outreach? Until you feel comfortable that you can talk to someone in that industry about, you know, the marketing you want to talk about. There's no, that could, you know, that could be 30 minutes, that could be 4 hours. It completely depends. Some people say you have to lead the prospect until they're curious enough to reply to you to get the free thing that'll make their life better. Is that true? There are multiple ways to do it. That's not, again, there's never a one size fits all approach. So that's going to be true in some cases, not in others. How do I get my copy reviewed? You need to go to the Patreon, which should be a link in the description, and sign up to that tier, which I think, is it $50 a month? I think, which you can still do. You can still do, and you can sign up for the next month. We are going to be making big changes to, like, how we review copy and who can do it and stuff like that soon. So keep an eye out for those. But if you want to do it within the next month, that's how you do it. Thank you, Leah, for saying that. Question: I'm using store leads to find potential niches and clients. Other than bad or confusing vague copy, what are the factors need to check while prospecting ecom clients? I think I must have talked about this before. Email sequences after signing up, both to the newsletter through like lead magnets and post-purchase. So even buy something from them if you really want to see how quickly do they follow up with a invite to buy something else. Checkout flow, are they giving you order bumps? Do they have a one-click upsell in place? Product pages, like how easy is it to navigate on the product page? Are the buttons above the fold? Is there enough social proof? Is it about confirmation? There's loads. Yeah, so there's a lot. Thanks, Dushyant. Appreciate that. When reviewing my own copy, what should I always keep in mind in order to make it better? I would go to the 22-hour course and go to the editing section and watch that, because we have a whole thing of videos all about how to review your own copy. As Paula said. Okay, Pilates and menopause are not a direct relationship, but folk who practice yoga would open people to Pilates. Yeah, exactly. Going to people who might be already interested in the thing you need to talk about. It's a nice hack for copywriters. Okay, right, cool. There we go. Thank you for your questions, everyone. Protein candy Facebook ad. Hang on, let me zoom in. All right, so that's the creative, I'm assuming. I think this is Leah's as well, because I recognize profile pictures. So I think this is the creative, and my guess is going to be, Leah, maybe you can confirm. My guess is this is the primary text of the Facebook ad. So this isn't a script. This is the primary text, which goes like above the creative. Is that right? I'll just wait for a yes just before I start reviewing the wrong thing, because it is. I have an immediate point. You also said yes, thank you. And I don't know if that was in response to my first question or my second question. So I'm just going to go forward and assume that this is meant to be primary text and this is the creative. So yes, okay, fantastic. And this is okay. So this is outreach. Is that correct? So is this out? So is this a spec ad? Okay, spec ad, and ignore the email. Okay, fine. I will not review the email. Okay, so first things, this creative is, if you're focusing on the protein candy, I'm not going to say this is gospel. Okay, I'm not going to say that this is the only way to think about this. I have seen weird creatives work. I've seen specific statics work. I've seen a load of stuff work. However, if you are running to a product page and this is like the one kind of campaign you're running, what percentage of the ad does the product take up here? This square and then this little bit. So that's probably what, like 10% of the ad. Most of it is this girl. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but the creative, the image or the video is the thing people see when they're scrolling. They don't see the primary text. Okay, they might look at the primary text if the creative grabs their attention, but generally speaking, people will not get grabbed by the primary text, and people will get grabbed by the creative. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, oh, I just used my daughter's pic to get their attention. I was only interested in selling them a copy. Okay, right. So this image is not the creative. This is irrelevant to the ad. In which case, I'm going to start reading this. Okay, fine. However, my point still stands, which is that if this is a Facebook ad, and if you were reaching out to me as an ecom store owner, which I am, and you sent me this copy, I would say, okay, but what about the creative? Because I know that creative is the most important thing. And most ecom store owners they don't really even worry about the copy very much above Facebook ads. They worry about what's the creative. They're obsessed with how, I speak with ecom store owners every single day. I've spoke to 2 today and 4 today. And every single call was about creative and about how do we test more creative and things like that. So if you're purely going on copy, I think you're going to have a harder time. I will review this in a second as well, but I just some general advice for everyone. Like the question they're probably going to ask is, okay, but what about the creative? Because you can't just run a Facebook ad with text. There has to be a creative there. So you need to decide, are you going to create the creative as well? Are you going to design it yourself, do it in Canva, or are you going to just ask a designer to do it for you? Are you just going to describe the creative or give a mock-up and just say, a designer can touch this up, but here's what I'm thinking? Because if an e-com store wants someone to run Facebook ads for them. They want the whole package. They don't necessarily want someone to do the design as well, but they need someone who can direct the design and who's like, yep, I'll take care of the creative, primary text, headline, description, because it's all one unit. It's all going out as one thing. So have a think about that first of all. At least describe as a brief what your creative is going to be. Anyway, the creative means the image and video. Is that the job of the designer? Creative does mean the image or the video, yes, but it's not the job of the designer to come up with the ideas. I'm just answering this question from Legion. It's not the job of the designer to come up with ideas necessarily. They can, but primarily in our agency, that is the job of the creative strategist and or the copywriter to come up with the ideas that the designer will then create. Is your picky athlete sabotaging their own game? What is this called? Protein candy? Okay. Picky athletes aren't getting enough protein. Coaches are mad, teammates are mad, and your athlete is exhausted all the time. You're spending a fortune on the sport and you can't afford them to be sluggish. So this is my ignorance, but I have no, like, is this a thing? Is this what they're selling their product on now? And do you know, and it's a question for you, Leah. I always like it when people are in the chat because I can talk. Do you know that this is something that people are struggling with? Like, have you done the research and you have actually seen yet? There's a bunch of people online complaining about this. I will continue. Yes, my daughter. So your daughter is, so I guess my question is, so your daughter is picky and at volleyball tournaments. So yeah, my main question is, have you, the people who would be the target of this ad, which isn't like your daughter, for example, like the person who's a target of this ad, I'm guessing is like coaches and parents, you know, it seems. Do they like have this as a problem? And if they do, fantastic. First question I always ask is, have you actually seen this out there? I'm going to start with this kind of purely as text. Is your picky athlete sabotaging their own game? And mums are always complaining about feeding the kids. Okay, cool. Picky athlete. So I like that because that strikes me as something that probably does get said a lot. And it's kind of clear, you know, picky is a word you associate with children. So like, I think it's clear that you're talking about kids. So I quite like that as a phrase, you know, picky athlete. Again, I would still use something that comes from IVOC data that you've seen people say. It's fine to use it from your own life, you know, and to, because some of the best copy I've ever written has been from personal experiences. Sabotaging their own game, I think, is where it falls off a little bit for me, purely because, and you'll hear me say this a lot, I want specificity rather than vagueness or generality. And I know this sounds quite cool and it sounds, you know, like sabotaging their own game. Like, yeah, you can make sense of that just about. But imagine if instead this just says, is your picky athlete missing out on the protein they need? You know, need like in all capitals or something, you know, or is your picky athlete missing the protein that does whatever? Or is your picky athlete, you know, like finishing games tired or like not collapsing, but, you know, getting energy drained or et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you want to change the words. They're a little bit nicer than that. But my point is like something specific that people recognize. Sabotaging their own game is a little bit open to interpretation. So I would just change it. Okay, cool. So I would point out protein immediately because the people you're speaking to know that protein's an issue. This comes back to the creative, which I know this isn't the creative, but it's the only image here. So I'm just going to use this as the image. This is where the way to grab attention, like we said, is through relevance and difference. And you could be hyper relevant by mentioning protein or just calling all parents or calling the parents of athletes or like, you know, is your child an athlete or whatever in kind of big text, help them reach their protein goals, like with this. All right. And that's like the big creative or like, you know, teenagers hit protein goals with, and then it's this thing. Because that all of a sudden is extremely relevant to me. And I would reflect that in the top of this copy as well. I would definitely mention protein as the thing. Creative is super important though. I don't want to let that go. It's like not hitting their protein goals, something like that. Yeah. There you go. That immediately makes it better because you're being more specific. So I like that. picky athletes aren't getting enough protein. Coaches are mad, teammates are mad, and your athlete is exhausted all the time. You're spending a fortune on their sport and you can't afford them to be sluggish. Okay, cool. I think that, again, that's fine. That's repeating, but like it's, I would say if I was being pedantic, yeah, you probably could delete that, but it's not the kind of thing that I'm going to get all in a twist over. There's a thing to be said here about formatting in a Facebook primary text, because in Facebook primary text, the only lines that really get seen are I think it's the top 3 lines on most Facebook browsers. Like they're updating all the time. So I think it's like the top kind of 3 lines. So this is 1, this is 2, like the second one, if you've got a gap between here, and like this is 3. So you need to really make sure that you are using this real estate to the best of your ability. So what the most important points from this first paragraph is a little copy exercise. Coaches are mad, teammates are mad, and your athlete's exhausted all the time. You're spending a fortune in a sport and you can't afford for them to be sluggish. What are the most important points here? Because this is where I would say, like you start with, is your picky athlete not hitting their protein goals, which I think is a good hook and a good way to show it's relevant. But now I would want to back that up with, like a very, very quick kind of formatting change of like whatever the product's called. So let's just say protein candy. Like protein candy helps, or protein candy makes sure. And then I would just say the 3 most important things. So like in ticks, so like emoji ticks, because ultimately, even though this sounds like good, right? And this is what, even though this isn't bad copy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what I said earlier. And it's the same thing I say to copywriters all the time. What actually needs to be said in here that hasn't already been implied by the creative, which we spoke about, and this hook? Not much, really. Like this is already inferred by me seeing this and going, oh my God, yes, you understand. You don't need to kind of keep saying about like, oh, there's this thing and there's this thing and there's this thing. Like I already know, I've got my problem. It's a big problem for me. So now I just want to know about the solution. I want to know why this thing is so good. So I would go straight into talking about the product in this primary text, because it's an e-commerce product. It's very obvious, as a very, very specific function. You don't need to spend a lot more time saying this thing. So go through here, and what is the most important thing you can do? Is it that it is like, I would probably say the protein content. I would probably say the flavors around like, like teenagers love it, or like it's, kids love it or whatever. It's easy to eat. And then I would say probably something around like the, a complete substitute for protein bars and or whatever else, or as you've said here, bowls of goop, right? Because that's what I really care about next. So as well written as this is, I don't think it's needed for the start of this, because it's primary text, and primary text, you don't have very much time. So what's the most important thing for me to look at here? Okay, just go back up to the chat quickly. Thing I noticed here is the language is kind of talking at them and not to them. I mean, I don't know. I would say that's a bit of a nuanced distinction. I'm not sure I'd agree with that necessarily. I just think as long as copy is getting the point across. College athletes and professional athletes are always watching my team. My assumption is, this is not for like professional athletes. This is for, for parents whose kids are like, they're wanting them to do well in football, not soccer. It's called football, or American football or baseball or whatever. So I would probably change this to like a checklist of items kind of thing. Yeah, you can keep it as that. I think that is better. I think there's a stronger start. And I know it's the hardest thing, Leah, believe me, to like just delete copy you've written, but so often it's the right play. And I think it's the right play there. Like to do what you've done. So, you can start with that. I think my personal thing would be, and I know I haven't read the rest of this yet, so I'm kind of preempting what you've done later on, but would be a function edit of moving this kind of stuff up here. Because imagine this, is your picky athlete not hitting their protein goals? Like introducing protein candy all on the same line. Protein candy is, and then I would do like the first 3. Would probably say, I think grams of protein per bag would probably be the first thing I do. Like is packed with protein, 14 grams per bag, whatever, or per snack. Absolutely delicious. Kids have no problem eating like bags of candy or bags of sweets or whatever. Easily digested, no bloating, no sluggish on the core, unlike right. Boom. That would be my next line around what I said up there, because it's like getting straight to the point of like, oh, great. And I know this is like, a lot of people are gonna hate me for this because it's going against what some people know about copy, but like, or what people, think they know about copy, because we always talk about long copy and how long copy is the best and all stuff like that. But I say this time and time again, particularly for ecom products. If there's a physical product and the function of it is really obvious, you do not need to write in like a long form style and kind of like, say, for example, this is what you've been waiting for. It's a saving grace. It looks, I mean, there are some lines in here that I think I would keep that are fine. But the fact of the matter is, especially paired with a creative, which is, also grabbing attention and showing the main points or the main benefit of it, just expanding on what the specific benefits are, that's what's important. So hopefully that makes sense. Leah says, you're amazing. Thank you, Alex. That's no problem at all. Hopefully that all makes sense. Are there any other questions? If not, I will move on. Oh, here you go. You got more stuff down here. So yeah. Proudly made in the USA. But yeah, I think this is all decent copy. This is good. It's just a case more of you need to kind of become a bit more accustomed to Facebook ads for ecom products and like how they work and how important primary text is, which is not massively important, versus how important the creative is, which is massively important. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move on unless anyone else has any questions. Hey, Paola. Nice to meet you. I also just had a message I really need to read. Okay. Leah, I'm going to assume you're all good with that. Please let me know if there's any other questions you have. Okay, whatever. All right. Cool. All good. Thanks. This is the problem with running agencies, guys. Is like stuff comes up that you need to deal with while I'm streaming. All right. How to practice copywriting email. Context: sales email for how to practice copywriting. May expect pieces and prepare portfolio samples. What is that? Is that a course? Is that a masterclass? I don't even know. Reader: beginner copywriters want to learn copywriting fast. Idea: learn copywriting fast with dedication and a proven system. Okay. Offer is Sean's masterclass, how to practice copywriting, make spec pieces. And okay, so it's a masterclass. Click through to the order page. Subject line 1, stop wasting time. Nope, don't like it. Subject 2, the 3 things that saved my dream. Nope, don't like it. Subject line 3, what happens when dedication meets proven? Nope, don't like it. None of these are specific. None of these combine anything with a benefit. And the intrigue is not strong enough for the subject line to be good on its own. Go and watch our videos about the 4 U's, which we often apply to headlines. We talk about how unique it is, how urgent it is, how useful it is, and how ultra specific it is. And these subject lines barely have one a piece. So why would I open this? There's no reason for me to open this, because there's nothing about an immediate benefit that I really care about. Nothing specific about copywriting. There's nothing. When dedication meets a proven system, that sounds like a lot of work. There's nothing intriguing there for me to go, oh, what is this unique thing I'm going to look at? So not ideal. Okay, hang on. Questions. Is a creative strategist basically a copywriter that directs a video ad with their words? A creative strategist is someone who oversees and helps execute on the creative process from start to finish. So like ideation, coming up with ideas for ads, overseeing the creative, making sure copywriters have the information they need to create ads, reviewing the copy, that kind of stuff. So it differs from business to business. So like yes and is the answer to that. I just need to go on Facebook ad formatting and edit down more. Wasn't this great, guys? I'm glad it was helpful. But yeah, no, but your copy was good. Your copy was decent. Like it was well written. There were no like mistakes. So it's all good. It's just a case of, again, with ecom products, it's usually very simple to write. It's just a case of making sure that the right things are in the right places. Okay. I was an accountant for 25 years, and for the last 7 years of those 25, I was stuck in a boring dead-end job with no potential. Okay, interesting. I don't mind that. And the worst part of it was I accepted there was no way out. I would probably bring copywriting into this immediately. I would probably say like last, I probably wouldn't say 7 of last. I would just say I was an accountant for 25 years. And for the last 7, I've been stuck in a dead-end job with no potential. Copywriting saved me. How much more compelling is that? Bolded or in capital letters, copywriting saved me. And the worst part of it was I accepted there was no way out. I then say for years, I accepted there was no way out. Now I'm having a ball writing sales pages, landing pages, and emails to my clients. How do I do it? These are the 3 things I put into practice daily that allow me to learn copywriting fast without getting overwhelmed. And all for less than the price of a morning latte of my favorite coffee shop. Those 3 things, find out here. So I like this. However, this reads more like a lift as opposed to a sales email. And if this is going straight to a checkout page, I don't think there's enough here to justify the price. Okay, there needs to be some more bullets in here and things like that. If it's going to a sales page that already exists, that's fine. But I'm not sure if we have a sales page for this masterclass. Subject lines are crap. Body is, again, couple little edits, but body is good. I think like that. Like to me, I like that. But this needs to be more specific, either more urgent, more useful, more specific, more unique. Okay. Bang. Moving on. We have space and lift email from the multi-tool newsletter. One thing I'm going to ask everyone quick is, because I really need to reply to a message really quickly. What questions do you guys have? If you have any questions about copywriting, drop them because I might try and get to them at the end. But I do need to reply to a message now. So feel free to type away just so we have a list of questions I can come back to later on. Oh man. I'm probably going to need to come off this stream a little bit early as well. It's amazing because like Sean decided to do the whole pranking Alex thing, give him loads of copies, so he has to do an 8-hour stream on literally the worst day because I'm gonna have to cut this stream short as well, unfortunately. So apologies for that, guys, just because I have a few fires I really need to put out. This offer is based on a lift email from the Motley Fool newsletter. Text and read is the structure of the original Motley Fool email. I've rewritten it below to sell ghostwriting and social media management services to CEO tech founders. Okay, fine. Imran, yes, 2 hours is enough, but like you need to make sure you do it consistently, and I cannot promise you how long it will take. There is no better. It completely depends on the business. So you are selling ghostwriting and social media management services to tech founders. Okay. Subject line. There's a reason no one's heard of you, but you can fix that in 7 days or less. A personal brand in 7 days or less. Your competitors are laughing. I wouldn't do that one. That one's a bit of a dickish thing to do. That comes across as, being an arsehole. You can go that route if you want, but I would avoid that. There's a reason no one's heard of you. I definitely know some founders and some CEOs who do have this kind of in their brain already around like, oh, I need a personal brand, or like, oh, we need to get out there more. So I would definitely be open for testing that. But again, use the 4 U's. Specific, right? What, like ultra specific, unique. What are you actually bringing to the table here, and why are you talking to them specifically? And remember, if this is cold outreach to, this is landing page actually up here, but then these are subject lines. But if this is cold outreach, right, then why not customize it to that founder, to that brand? That's going to make it far stronger. Okay. Find a common enemy. It's a battle to make your voice heard in social media today. You're competing with teenagers, competitors, platform algorithms that change from one day to the next. Like it or not, times have changed. CEOs, entrepreneurs, and startup founders can't hide behind their company brands anymore. If you're like most founders, you'd rather swallow a hairball than perform for strangers on the internet to promote your business online. You don't have time to write, blog, edit, and grind out daily content when you're dealing with all that chaos of getting a business off the ground. How do all those web famous founders do it? Here's a secret: they don't do it themselves. Okay. I don't hate this. Again, obviously, because you're following a structure, it's got like it's a proven structure, which obviously already kind of keeps things moving and seems like it works. But I would say like, it just needs more. Again, I know if you've written this to kind of go out to loads of people, you want to save time. I would really highly encourage you to customize this to each person you're sending to. And just talk about, I tried to find a website for you, but I couldn't find one. I went to, Peter like Hutchins.com or whatever. Don't know where that came from. PeterHutchins.com, and like there was nothing there. So you haven't got a personal brand. Like that makes it a little more like, oh, you've actually tried looking at me, or I couldn't see the last time you posted something on LinkedIn, or I couldn't find a blog from you on your company website. Those things make it a lot more kind of compelling. A lot more compelling for me to actually have a look at. Because I'm just going through this and like, I think that all of this is fine. Okay. I might try and I probably wouldn't mention price. Like you can try mentioning price, but for individuals and for a personal service like this, I would try and get someone on the phone first before talking about price. I think you can have more success with that. You don't have to say money, but do say like, oh, unlimited, limited number of slots. I want you to like have the whole bundle. I'll make sure you have bonuses. You can mention that. I just wouldn't mention price at this point. But this is what I don't. Liam, is this you? But like, yeah, I think this is well written. To be honest, like I'm kind of speed reading it because again, I'm gonna need to go in a minute. But there's not much I would change about the explaining you're doing, about why you're saying this. I think that the structure broken down is quite nice. My main thing would purely be around making this a bit more specific and trying some other subject lines that are more unique to individuals. I know it's a bit annoying because like you want to do one thing that's general, but I think this can be quite strong as outreach, but I would just want to see it be a bit more specific to each brand. Okay, it was you. Yeah. So awesome. But the copy is well written and I like the structure you've done. And I think, it's not too long. It doesn't repeat itself. It's not winding. I would maybe say my only kind of thing was like around agitating and more agitation. Like that could be a bit more visceral with specific ideas for what you would do instead of, or like, you see other founders doing this stuff and they have like no idea, like specifically there's founders who have this and have this and have this, because you then lead on to saying, how do other founders do it? But generally speaking, I like this. It would just be a case of personalizing for each person you reach out to. That would be what I would suggest. But other than that, I like it. It's nice. Any questions specifically about this, Liam, though? I'm going to have to go in like 12 minutes because I need to jump on with someone. Okay. Very good. Okay, awesome. Nice. Oh, man. Okay. Welcome sequence. 4-part welcome sequence for Ember, a brand that produces temperature-controlled drinkware such as mugs and cups. The goal of the sequence is to welcome new subscribers, introduce the brand story and technology, and encourage them to make their first purchase using 10% off incentive code. Okay, cool. Sorry for the rough design. That's fine. All right. Your perfect sip starts with 10% off. So this is... So they've subscribed. They haven't necessarily bought yet. They've just subscribed. Or have they bought? Signing up to the newsletter. Okay. Your perfect sip starts with 10% off. I would front load the discount here because that's what people are doing this for. I would say 10% off on your first sip or your first, I would just be a bit more direct with saying, you're 10% off or you're 10% off or off 10% off as a thank you from us or whatever. Because that's what people are really going to care about. Welcome, Ember. We're thrilled to have you in our community. Save your beverage at the perfect temperature from the first sip to the last. As a warm welcome, enjoy 10% off. That's fine. And then bestsellers in the email. Yep, it's fine. I wouldn't change anything about that. Again, e-commerce copy, it's fucking easy, basically. It's more like the function, the strategy, and how you move it around. Like that, those are the things that really matter with it. Nice, fine. Some people are going to say, Alex, I thought you say one action in an email, but this counts as one action because it's asking you to choose between like these three. And it's just, there are plenty of e-com emails where you have like a catalog of products in there. So that's fine because it's kind of like a selection screen. Company story being sent 24 hours afterwards. Okay, if they've bought, they must be removed from the sequence. There's why we created Ember. We were sick of this problem. Weak subject line. I would say I'd want something a bit more bombastic, a bit more in your face, and a bit more like specific to why it was created in the first place. Don't just say why we created Ember. Is there something in here which is like, you know, I would just say a benefit, honestly. I would just like replace subject line with a benefit. And then you can weave that benefit into why it was the thing that inspired you to create the brand in the first place. Perfect temperature every time from the first pour to the last drop. Nothing else should interfere with your ritual enjoyment. Don't forget to claim. Don't like this email as much, just because like this is effectively saying basically the same thing again and again, which is, it's the perfect temperature. It's the perfect temperature. It's the perfect temperature. That's why in 2014 we created this to give you the perfect temperature. This is the perfect temperature. Fucking, why are you telling me that 4 times in a 4 paragraph? Like just it would be better if this was specifically around like, how does the product work? You know, so this could either be like a benefit, and you could talk about like, you know, how we achieve the perfect temperature, or like why you'll never use another mug again, or something like that. And then this is actually breaking down like how to use it, how it works, future pace. Give them allow them to imagine themselves actually having the product, and you're almost giving instruction in this email, and then repeat the discount and say, if you'd like to start using yours now, if you're excited to get started, go. Okay. Urgency testimonials. Do you still want it? Your code is expiring soon. Yeah, I think that's fine. I quite like that as a subject line. Especially because that's actually a little bit sexual. And like we know that sexual kind of like hints to sexuality and things like that usually do pretty well as a way to grab attention. Do you still want it? 10% off. We know you haven't used it yet. It expires in 48 hours. Once it's gone, it's gone. If you still want to start savoring, but yep, I like that. Nice and simple. Urgency, CTA, strong offer. Fine. And then you've got some testimonials in there. Yeah, cool. Personal note from the founder. One small idea to change everything. Might change that subject line to something like even just saying like, hi, this is Clay, founder of Ember. That's just, it just strikes me. It's still the same thing, but it strikes me as a little bit more like, oh, you know, grabs my attention a little bit more. Hang on. We'll be there in a few minutes. Okay. Yeah, like this one, again, this is fine. I would just like change your second email to what I spoke about. And then this fourth email basically does a better job of talking about the founder story anyway. So that's how I would position that. All right, good. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, and apologies to everyone watching today. This is slightly rushed. Usually we don't have this problem. It's just at the moment because I am going on holiday from tomorrow, and I still have to do a load of stuff and do stuff with clients, and Sean's in Japan doing a load of stuff. So I'm holding the fort on some of these things at the moment. All right, cool. How many we got left? Okay, we're definitely only into these. Okay, well I think these final two were like, okay, well we've already done you, Neon Boy, which I think was Liam, unless I have someone just commenting. Hooks. Meta, TikTok ads, 5 hooks and video scripts on the side by to left. Audience is mostly problemware. Car insurance and prices too high. You shop around for better insurance rates. Okay, so this is for car insurance. Thanks. I'm actually so not hungry because I just came from lunch, so that made me feel a little bit sick. Also, Like, who has seeded bread for like, for toast? Anyway, script hooks, only one is used. 3 tips on being the car insurance companies from a retired insurance agent. Yeah. 3 tips on saving from a retired car insurance agent. Car insurance companies do not want you to know the secrets. Yep, like that. Here are 3 secrets car insurance companies do not want you to know. I like that one because it starts with car insurance and it's got that, like, beating the system. If your car insurance rates keep going up, here's what you do. I like 6, I like 3, and I like 1. I would maybe switch 1 around. Like, I think that's okay. Especially if the visual is like, I would also put, I know you've got like a talking head visual. I would also put a big caption over this, which says something like, before you get car insurance, or like, sick of car insurance, ? Something like that, just so car insurance is already front and center when people are listening. Shop around for insurance every 6 months. Insurance companies will raise your rates regularly. They do this because are these 2 different hooks? Yeah, I'm assuming. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I meant for the one above as well. There's cheap car insurance everywhere. You just got to call around. Ooh, I don't like that, because that makes me think I have to do something. Don't make me think I've got to do something. Otherwise, I'm not going to bother. It's like, I already know I need to put effort in to make things happen. I don't want to know that. I would say, like, there's cheaper car insurance right here. Let me show you how. There we go. That's why we changed that to. If you don't want to go through the hassle of calling up insurance companies, kind of local insurance broker instead. Hope you shop around the best rates, basically. Aaron, I want you to, I think this was Aaron. Was it Aaron? I'm sure it was. Anyway, whomever this was, I think it was Aaron. I want you to go through the exercise that we did, like in the boot camp, around reducing the number of words you have to use for this hook. So for each hook, for like these ones especially, when you've got like 3 lines, imagine you could only use 75% of the words, and then imagine you can only use 50% of the words, to like try and force yourself to condense it and say it in a slightly different way. Okay. Or are these like, these are the hooks. Okay, right. So these weren't hooks. These were the other parts of the ad. Okay, I'm with you now. I thought it was weird, like, why they were doing this. I still think that one, if you change it to the way I said, could be used as a hook though. And again, same with that. Okay, cool. Right. There we go. Can we get through these last 2? But these are different. Oh, fuck. Right. Okay. Well, I've given you my thoughts of the first ones. Feel free to, at me in the chat. So I'm sure I'll get back to them at some point. Okay, I can do this really, really quick. Like to hear your opinion on these scripts for short form ads, TikTok and Instagram Reels, promoting a sports car filter that enhances performance, improves sound, and reduces maintenance. Also, on the other tab, there are scripts for a car interior cleaner. PPC advertising. Okay, cool. Right. Why is a sports air filter a better investment? Besides giving you more power, better throttle, longer with regular routines. I'm going to assume that these people know that, this is coming from a car brand, and like they already know that this is for a car. I'm going to assume they know what a sports air filter is going to be my assumption. In which case, like, this is fine, but like, I would be again, I used this word earlier, like, more bombastic about this. Like, why is a sports air filter a better investment? More like, I say something like, why car lovers need sports air filters, right? Okay. Like, there's no excuse. And then I even say, like, there's no excuse. Whoa, okay, well, I need to watch this now. Now I'm going to pay more attention. Less kind of just, well, on the one hand this, on the other hand this. A lot more, here's why this thing is true. Oh, God. Sean told us about your content grid. Can you explain more of the generators? I'm going to have to do that in another video. There is a, that's already in the Platinum Collection. There's a video in the Platinum Collection about my content grid. So you can go there and have a watch that. It's either in the Platinum Collection or the EMP. It's one of those 2. If you ask in the Discord, I'll be able to have a look. Those 2 air filter sports filter scripts we launched and organically gained over 1 million views on TikTok and Instagram. Why do you think that's the case? Because the product is interesting itself. Yeah, like, who knows why the algorithm does what the algorithm does. Again, like, if people already know what this thing is, then okay, it makes sense that, well, they would be interested in reading about this. It might just get into the right circles. It gets the right amount of engagement. All of a sudden, yeah, people are really into it. Okay, questions. So I'm going to, is it better in short form ads to reveal the product right away or somewhere in the middle, or a bit scared of premature reveal? Haha. Test both. Sometimes it's in the beginning. I'm literally doing that with a brand at the moment, moving into the beginning. Is the hook strategy for PPC ads the same as general video ads and TikTok, or should we approach them differently? I don't think you should approach them differently. I think it generally is the same. And I tell people like to think about, organic the same way they think about ads, like especially with the hooks, because it's just important to, have like, have something that is attention grabbing immediately. And there's not really a big difference in how you do that between those two. There's a clear benefit driven hook strategy. I mean, I'm not massive into organic. I'm not looking at organic all the time performance, especially not impressions and things like that, because I think that's so often like, especially with bot culture online, you can never trust impressions anyway, and impressions don't necessarily lead to sales. And Facebook with PPC ads, they are going to be trying to prioritize people who like are likely to buy. So these are great questions. As you say, I'm going to need to do this in a Q&A video. I'm sorry, I did not get to this one, but also this is not an actual critique. This is more about like how you break things down. Would love to do that. Save these for Q&A videos. I'm sorry I have to bounce everyone. I'm actually glad there weren't actually that, despite Sean's attempts to prank, there weren't actually that many pieces of copy today. I'm going to have to go because I need to jump on a few fires. I will make it up next time when we come back by doing a longer stream. But I hope this was useful in any sense. It certainly forced me to be more concise with my points, which is probably better for the future, which is why I should probably keep it shorter. Please, if you didn't get questions on this day, or you want me to like have a look at stuff, especially if you're in the priority channels in the Discord server, please message in that, like tag us. We try to get back to everyone whenever we can. But for now, I need to go. Everyone have a fantastic week, month, year, everything in between. And I will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much and goodbye.